Hi everyone, and welcome to the USN Travel Talk today on Wednesday. And for those ones who is joining and maybe not seen us before, USN Travel Talk, we talk with different destinations, DMCs, hotels around the world, and to talk about how things are opening up, when they're opening up, and how they've been going through the pandemic, and a little bit on the products and everything. And I see we got a few people with us. And the normal is that we have the chat, so you can ask questions in the chat. I will monitor the chat and ask them to our guest today. And then you can get the replay, and we will post it on our YouTube as well. So you can have plenty of times to re-see it, or even forward it to your colleagues or friends as well who wants to listen to it. And today I have Fabian from Rotterdam Partners with me. Welcome, Fabian.
Thank you very much, Christine.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. We're actually moving in. We've been in very exotic places. We've been Maldives and Asia and everything. So it's nice to come back to Europe and talk about what's happening in Europe. Because we know that, of course, this summer is probably going to be a lot of European holidays for people.
Yeah, there will be.
Yeah. So that's why I think it was good to be on and have Rotterdam with us. And I think, Fabian, how is things in Rotterdam at the moment, and how do you see the future or like coming months? If you can look into the glass ball and the crystal ball and saying this is what will happen.
No, actually, I have to say that the city of Rotterdam is quite well prepared. Let's say since this pandemic came into the entire world. Mm. As the city of Rotterdam is quite a spacious city. And of course, at this moment, the city is almost empty. So it's not really, let's say, a nice atmosphere to be in our city. But I have to say that we are really prepared to receive tourists once the restrictions will become more flexible.
Yeah.
And the city is getting ready for it. Just an example, in the city center, we have now these hand sanitizers publicly. We see that we have everywhere the measurements according to the government regulations in terms of COVID-19. Mm. And we see that all the tourism suppliers in our city are continuously preparing themselves to be ready when we can go open again.
Okay, so basically the city is just preparing itself for summer coming up, or spring, summer probably we're talking about, where we see people can start traveling again, maybe, hopefully.
Yes, now currently here in the Netherlands and as well as in Rotterdam, of course, we are still in lockdown until the 2nd of March. Mm. And we expect next week more information about the regulations, if they are going to extend it again a couple of weeks more, depending on the figures. Yep. However, here in the news was that the last 5 weeks, the numbers went down properly. And what we hear and feel now is that the expectations are that, let's say, as from the summertime, we expect that there could be more possible in terms of travel, but for March, April, we think we still will be in this lockdown or semi-lockdown situation.
Mm. But I think that's the same. If you're looking at the Scandinavian countries as well, it's similar kind of situation. What we see that some of the government is saying that they hope that they can have some foreign, visitors coming in the summertime. And I think that's what we're looking at, that people, and it's Europe, basically, they're looking at as well. So not too much outside of Europe, but of course, again, summer is Europe, holidays mostly as well, especially for us Scandinavians. We do, take the chance to travel in Europe in summer, and then we go long haul when the winter is coming closer. So I think for Rotterdam, it's probably a good option as well. But I know we have a short presentation, and we even have a film, and so we can have some talking points around, the whole what to do and everything. I must say myself, I haven't been in Rotterdam, but I had a quick tour to Amsterdam, so I'm looking forward to even hear more about Rotterdam, because I heard so much good about it. And like I said, for everyone, just ask questions. I see we have already 7 people joining us here, so it's really nice. But I know, shall we just start on the presentation, Fabian? And
good idea.
Continue there, because then we have some talking points. And like I said, people can ask questions as well.
Yeah, well, let's first of all introduce myself shortly to the audience. I'm working for Rotterdam Partners Tourism Board. We are the official destination marketing organization for the city of Rotterdam, and we are working on the international B2B acquisition of travel trade companies to inspire them and tell them about what the city of Rotterdam has to offer for these companies, and of course for their clients. And I would like to take you with me and answer the question, why is Rotterdam the ultimate city break destination for your guests?
Good.
And it would be great if we just take a little bit more than 1 minute to get a nice impression of the city. So I would like to say, let's discover Rotterdam.
Yep.
So you already saw the slogan, Rotterdam, make it happen.
Yep.
And well, that's let's say where our city stands for. That all is possible in the city, and we have, let's say, the can-do mentality in our city. And of course, this is still a continuous result of the let's say the post-war period we are still in. So the city of Rotterdam has been bombed and burned for a big part since the Second World War, and actually the city is still rebuilding and continuously reinventing itself to the city as it is nowadays.
Cool. I'm gonna help you doing that. So.
Yeah, so Rotterdam is a typical city of contrasts. As I just mentioned, we are a city that's shaped by history, and you see this in the dynamics of the city. We have daring architecture. There is a lot of room to experiment. So particular areas in our city are assigned to experiment or give entrepreneurs a place to work on their creative industries. And we also saw the expats increasing the last couple of years, which really gives us an dynamic international character.
Yeah. Can I ask you, and like when you're saying it's a lot of architecture and is a room to experiment. And would that say that you think Rotterdam is a city where for young people to visit, or to even get inspiration maybe in their daily life as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We see that the population of as well as students, but also the younger people, are more and more finding their way to Rotterdam. Besides, let's say, the university and the bachelor schools that we have in our city, they are also, let's say, joining experiments that are developed in our city. So we are always open to talk and listen to ideas of people in the city.
And so would you say, maybe because we have, of course, you have architectural students, or you people interested in architecture, or maybe in history. So what would, if you're interested in architecture, history or art or itself, so what could you suggest for them, if we're coming down and seeing Rotterdam?
Now, if you talk about architecture, and we will see this later on as well, you have there's a new icon opening in Rotterdam by the end of 2021. It's called the Depot, and in let's say Rotterdam language, the pot, and it's the first storing house in the world housing contemporary art. And it will be part of one of the most famous museums here in Rotterdam, the Museum Boijmans van Beuningen. And that's really an architectural masterpiece designed by the Dutch architect Winnie Maas. And it's a building constructed with mirrors, so that you also can see the city when you are standing in front of the building. With on top of it a forest with magnificent viewpoints over the city, and a park, bar, and restaurant.
Wow.
And it will house a lot of contemporary art, and part of the museum, Boijmans van Beuningen, that is an historical building that will be completely renovated during a period of 7 years. It's now closed for still 2 years. So still 5 more years to go. And then we have a new area and a new, let's say, cultural and architectural area in Rotterdam, which is called the Museum Park. And important to mention is that it will also be a really new green and spacious area in our city, and it will be the new cultural quarter of Rotterdam.
So that is something we could look forward to summertime then, if you're coming down to Rotterdam.
Yeah, it will open expected September or October this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a late kind of an autumn city break. You can go down and experience that. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Then it would be great if you can visit it as the new highlight and icon of our city. Rotterdam is also a really cosmopolitan city, and this is due to the fact that we are living here together with more than 170 nationalities. And I'm really proud as a Rotterdammer from the heart that we are living really in good harmony together in our city with all these various cultures. And this also gives the energy in our city, and you see this in the bars and restaurants. We have nice local restaurants like Indonesian food, Thai food, but as well an increasing number of really good Michelin star restaurants in our city. So this culinary diversity has been grown the last couple of years. And we have also a really rich art and culture scene. And unfortunately, Rotterdam always had a lot of festivals and events throughout the year, which of course, due to the pandemic, always been cancelled or converted into online events. But normally there's really a full packed calendar of festivals in our city. Like this month here in February, for example, the International Film Festival that we have in February, and in the summertime we have normally a summer carnival. But okay, This is also not protected. So there are a lot of also international festivals that attract tourists usually to our city.
I was just thinking, of course, food and wine is something that for Scandinavians is important when we're traveling. It's usually people either check on their Instagrams or we kind of search for where to eat and what to eat and what we can eat. Is there any places where we can find like list of the restaurants or what kind of cuisine or something like that people can get hold of? Because I'm just thinking this is something which is just important for us when we travel.
Yeah, no, definitely no. Just to give you an example, let's say I think in the Netherlands, but especially in Rotterdam, the Indonesian cuisine, for example, is quite famous. And we, as tourism board, we are always, let's say, the linking pin between our 180 partners that we have in the city. So those are also a lot of bars and restaurants. And we can connect the Scandinavian travel trade companies directly with these partners and provide them with information about the restaurants and connect them together. So we have a network, and we are always very much happy to facilitate the travel trade in this respect.
So if someone wants to, have either a list or ask about, somewhere, if there's, suggestions or whatever, they can just email you basically and get more information on the whole restaurants areas.
Yeah, definitely. And then we will make a tailor-made proposition according the needs of the particular travel trade company, and or we can plan a call by Microsoft Teams to discuss a bit more in detail, and then we will provide this to the trade.
Okay. Excellent. And of course, we don't know what's happening, in the future, like we said, but we can look at the crystal ball sometimes and just, imagine what could be. But of course, if you're saying summer, borders opening and we can manage to travel, knock on wood. And do you see it's a lot of, like you see the picture you're having in the background there as well. It's a lot of outdoor and we probably will see more outdoor kind of restaurants and activities because people want to spend more time outdoor than indoor. So probably that's a good place as well if Rotterdam already is an outdoor.
A very nice development, and it's nice, Christine, that you mentioned this outdoor topic. Is the fact that in Rotterdam, let's say in terms of cars in our city, the policy is to get as much as possible the cars in the parking garage. And they give, let's say, the public parking spaces more and more to the owners of the bars and restaurants to extend their terraces. And the trend that we see nowadays is that the local government in Rotterdam tries to increase these possibilities even more due to the current pandemic situation, so that they can open the terraces, hopefully in a couple of months again, more in terms of health and safety regulations. And for example, if you come by car to Rotterdam, I mean, let's say sustainability is also really important in our city. So we always advise tourists to come by public transportation, but if people come by car, you can do it and park the car in the parking garage and go by foot into the city center. Or even park your car at a really low rate around the city and take the subway in 5 to 10 minutes to the city of Rotterdam.
Okay, and talking about that, when you said how you arrived to Rotterdam, it's a good you mentioned it, because it's a lot of people also thinking about, or agents thinking that what's the easiest way to get to Rotterdam. If you're talking either of course, if you're in Copenhagen, I think driving is a very easy way to drive down to Rotterdam, of course. And for the other ones, I don't know how the flight is. This flight to Amsterdam and then train up?
Yeah, I think if we go a bit further in the presentation, I can visualize it as well. You can see we are connected to the world. And we have, let's say, a connection between Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, which is the main international airport also for Rotterdam. And the easiest way is if you arrive at Schiphol Airport, you can take the so-called train connection intercity direct, which takes you in 26 minutes non-stop to Rotterdam Central Station. And then you are immediately in the city center of Rotterdam.
Okay. So basically you can fly down to Amsterdam. The train is straight outside or in the airport, so you can board the train from the airport station or...
Correct.
And then 26 minutes later, you are in Rotterdam.
Correct. And we have also our own airport here. It's called Rotterdam The Hague Airport. It's 15 minutes outside the city of Rotterdam. And this is more a regional airport. But due to the pandemic, we don't know, let's say, which airline connections will be developed from Amsterdam as well as from Rotterdam. So actually we're still checking now and then how the developments are, because still the connections are not really open. So maybe there will be connections as well, new connections as well from Rotterdam to Scandinavian airports, but this is not clear at the moment.
Okay. And you can take, of course, train, because we know train rides is getting more and more popular, especially, like I said, in Northern Europe, where people finding that actually train is a more sustainable or even a nicer way of traveling when we have more time as well. So, of course, you can take train from both Stockholm and Copenhagen and Oslo and Helsinki as well, down to Rotterdam as well.
Yeah, we are really, it's good that you mentioned railway traffic, because that's also one of our, let's say, key topics when it comes to accessibility of our city. And if you look to the connections, I think from Scandinavia it goes over Germany, and when you arrive from Germany into Utrecht, you can take the train to Rotterdam Central Station. But the city is really good accessible by train. And I think even in the future it will be, I think from Copenhagen it could be a nice trip by train. If you have a bit more time. I think that's always the discussion that you will have.
But I'm just thinking from Copenhagen, I would be more pleasant to take the train than actually flying, because it's a lot of up and down and you can actually relax better. And I think also people maybe will take more time traveling now because they appreciate the traveling more when we've been off it for over a year soon in times as well. And another thing, of course, people are thinking if they don't have their car, when they're coming in, what kind of, system, how easy is it to get around? Because we know Amsterdam, I know, is a lot of biking similar to Copenhagen, of course. So is there any kind of city bikes or bikes you can rent or something like that in Rotterdam as well, so you can bike around, or is it easy walking?
Yeah, no, I mean, the city is, let's say, it's a compact city, but still, of course, you can walk quite long distances. So you see nowadays everywhere these bicycle systems that you can rent with your smartphone.
Yep.
And you pick it up, let's say, at Central Station, and you drop it again next to your accommodation.
Yep.
But the picture that you see here in front of you is nice to mention. This is really an iconic public transport system. It's called the water taxi. And this is a system that's operating since a couple of years in our city along the River Maas, in the city itself, and also a little bit to the outskirts. And it's really connecting touristical points with each other. So it's an attraction itself to take a ride, let's say, on the water taxi. And it always makes that you are in 5 minutes from one point to another point. And I really recommend to do it. It's really a popular transportation system.
So you would say it's very easy for people to, if they're riding by train, you're not depending on having any, like many cities, you need to rent a car or, the taxis. It's a good, sustainable way of walking or biking around in the city.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, we also have a subway system into our system, tramway system in the city.
Yeah.
But to explore the city, to take a bike or walk is the best option to explore the city and to see the highlights of Rotterdam.
Excellent. I just moving you along a little bit, and we actually talked about that. It's easy accessible by train, and like you said, 26 minutes from Schiphol. I think Schiphol is probably because KLM is flying from every city in Scandinavia, more or less.
Yeah.
So it's a really good access there. What you're saying, 26 minutes, if people are going to do a weekend and maybe trade. They've been to Amsterdam maybe a few times and then want to try something else. I think that's a good one.
No, definitely. And I think if you see here, I think Rotterdam is really a city that you can visit for 3-4 days easily, if you would like to do it quietly, let's say. And even if we speak about, let's say, the summertime, and when you mentioned the Scandinavians will not go that far away, is the trend in your markets. Then after 3-4 days in Rotterdam, you have easily access to other interesting cities as well by train. So we are really well connected by the high-speed train network.
Yeah, I just think that maybe train, especially this summer, like I said, Europe is going to be the first one we open up to anyway, which it was last summer. We had a peak, a little bit of a window there where people were traveling a little bit, and we saw that it was Europe. So I think definitely Europe is going to be, where people are planning for their summer holidays, and maybe also, like you're saying, like train, I think is going to be a little bit more. People are talking sustainability. Also maybe more slow travel, so they can actually enjoy their travel instead of fast rush through everywhere. And also I think in train you have more space, so that means you're not sitting so close to people for a long time. You can also walk up, you can go to the restaurant place or wagon as well, so it's a more spacious and not sitting so close to each other for a longer time as well. So I think maybe trains is going to be a little bit of a new trend coming, I think, especially in Europe for shorter travel, of course.
Yeah. Now, Rotterdam is also a really attractive travel destination. A couple of years ago, Lonely Planet announced Rotterdam as a must-see travel destination. And we really have a lot of nice hotel and leisure options. So besides, let's say, the hotel chains, we also have an increasing number of nice boutique and characteristic hotels in really nice typical buildings. And in order to create, let's say, the tourism propositions for the travel trade in Scandinavia, we work together with more than 170 partners in our city to define the tourism and the product here in our city. And I'm always ready to advise the Scandinavian travel trade companies about it. And what we also did pre-COVID-19 was organizing familiarization trips for travel trade professionals here in the city of Rotterdam. We have them again on our program, of course, for this year, but nobody knows. So we are now thinking as well to see if we can do a real time fam trip, but we're also thinking about online, let's say, fam trips. But I really hope that in the second half of this year we are able to organize a fam trip in real life for the travel trade.
And I think also people are looking forward to actually see people in real life. We see people through like this on the screen all the time at the moment. So you get a little bit of, screen fatigue probably. And I think people are looking forward to see, really face to face as well. So I think that's going to be something coming up.
Yeah.
I also know a little bit on, because I have a couple of journalists actually joining us as well, I can see. And it's one of them is just asking that 10,000 of Norwegians have been to Amsterdam many a number of times, but what they have seen is mainly, of course, bars and tattoo shops. They've been there as crew on Norwegian's merchant vessels. Is there any possible to seeing harbor by the way of sightseeing boats?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Rotterdam is really the city of the harbor innovation. It's a water city. And you can do a really nice harbor tours by Speedo. It's the first and original harbor cruise company here in Rotterdam, and it's departing from you see the bridge here. This is the Erasmus Bridge, which you see on this picture, one of the iconic bridges of the city. And then on the right side, you see the Speedo office. So from there, you see the boats already ready for departure into the harbor, and you can choose different durations to experience the harbor and get information about the developments in the harbor as well.
Okay. So you can actually do, explore a little bit by the water as well. So you can do sightseeing by the water.
Yeah, definitely. And for let's say, in terms of educational trips, we have, for example, Futureland, which is a bit more outside the city of Rotterdam. And it's a harbor experience center where you can learn about the harbor, about innovation in the harbor and how our things are working. And the nice thing is that the harbor was a couple of years ago far away, let's say, from the city center of Rotterdam. And you see now in the recent developments that the harbor of Rotterdam is getting more connected into the city. So we say the harbor is also part of Rotterdam. It's not anymore that industrial harbor. It's part of the city. You can learn things there. You can experience things there in the harbor, which is a good development.
Yeah, interesting. I hope Terry got his questions answered. So if else, he just needs to give me a chat again. And the new ones, the new development, we talked a little bit about them, didn't we?
Yeah, here you see it. This is the depot Boijmans van Beuningen, or once again in Rotterdam language we call it the pot.
Yeah.
And this is the stage as it is right now. So they planted a couple of weeks ago the forest, as you can see on the rooftop, and all the mirrors have been placed as well. So you can see the skyline of the city. And it will house part of the contemporary art collection of the museum Boijmans van Beuningen, because as I mentioned, the museum is closed due to renovation. So they are going to move the masterpieces into the depot. The last couple of months, they have been, let's say, removed temporarily to cultural institutions in other cities around the world. And now step by step coming back as the depot is being completed. And it's a museum inside, and on top, as I mentioned, a nice bar and restaurant will be opened, and you will have a magnificent view of the city. And this rooftop will always be open for the public free of charge. So you buy an entrance fee ticket for the depot, but the forest and let's say the viewpoint will be open. So it's actually a new rooftop attraction in our city. And on the picture right on top, you can see a little bit the impression how it will be. So you see already some green area, but this whole depot will be surrounded by a green area when the public area is completed. Okay. So we are really proud of this new icon.
I can definitely understand
in our city.
I would have been proud too if it was in my city. It's really cool, and it's really cool with the whole city actually being mirrored on the front there as well. It is.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit what you do in Rotterdam Partners as well, isn't it?
Exactly. This is, let's say, how we help the international travel trade. So tailor-made advice is what we are doing. So, of course, information about our city, connecting you to our partners in the city, giving you advice about how to make the program for your clients. Online workshops and fan trips. And as well, we are providing promotional tools. And one of them is, for example, the Rotterdam Welcome Card. That's a card that also can be contracted by travel trade companies to sell to their clients. And it offers public transportation for 1, 3, or 5 days, discounts on touristical attractions, etc. Yeah. And to conclude, to support in your buying and product management. So we are always enthusiastic to discuss with the travel trade about their needs when they would like to start offering Rotterdam in their portfolio.
Yeah. And just to do, like I said, I could see by the names that I had a couple of journalists as well, or bloggers as well on with us. So if they want to do something on, they can even make contact with you as well, and you will forward them to the PR department, because you have a PR department as well.
Yeah, for sure. I can forward these journalists to my colleague Kim Heinen. She is our international press officer, and always has been affiliated with the Scandinavian market as well. The last couple of years. So I'm more than happy to connect you to her to see the possibilities in terms of press trips or press visits when it's possible again. So with great pleasure.
Exactly. I just saw, like I said, there was a few of them on board here, so I thought like it's good to know for them as well. And then you said we're coming to, of course, what you have is the branding toolkit, which is really good that you have, because it's not everybody who has a good source of pictures. We know everybody, even journalists as well, needs pictures. Sometimes they might not be able to come down, or they might not be able to take, or the pictures didn't turn out the way it was. So it's really good that you have whole, branding toolkit for people to use.
Yeah, we have. We call it the Rotterdam Make It Happen Alliance, and that's actually a combination of companies in Rotterdam that forced power together to present the city internationally. And of course, we also have some good photographers who joined us and make continuously nice pictures, depending the season, depending the developments, and they add them to this Rotterdam Make It Happen branding toolkit.
Excellent. So no, it's good, and I think for the journalist also who's there, that it's good for them to be able to get hold of some pictures as well.
For sure, yeah.
And then, of course, that's your name and your contact number, your telephone number, your email, and everything. So I think we kind of managed to get through almost on time. We did. We're talking like 36 minutes. We find on that. It is. But it was really a pleasure. And I think, like you said, if I'm going to say 3 main things you think, why should I visit Rotterdam?
Well, that's a really good question. Well, I think the first one is really to explore the architectural highlights that we have in our city, the older ones and also the new ones. So really, if you are fond of architecture, please visit our city. The second one is a little bit strange to say in this pandemic time, but we really have a great nightlife as well, and a good food and beverage scene. And food and meet the locals is really one of the things that you can do perfectly here in our city. Just an example to do, for example, a bike and bite tour. So you go by bicycle during a 2.5 hours tour and visit local entrepreneurs, where you can taste a beer or a soup or a typical Dutch dish that they created themselves. And thirdly, I think you need to explore Rotterdam from the water in different aspects. So we have really nice parks, and we even have, if you stay a bit longer in Rotterdam, we have a beach which is called Hoek van Holland, which is just 30 minutes by subway, which especially in summer or late summer can be an interesting escape just to relax a little bit. So I think those are the 3 USPs I would like to mention.
Excellent. I think that's a great. I think also that's a great kind of ending to it. So we know what we should do when we come to Rotterdam this summer, I think. And hopefully everybody got. I think we managed to got through the whole thing. So if anyone has any more questions, feel free to email Fabian. You getting the replay of this as well, everybody, into the mailbox, so you can even look through there and see again. And thank you, Fabian, for taking these 30 minutes to talk to us about, we'll see Europe, the next city break we're going to have.
It was a great pleasure, Christine, and I would like to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present Rotterdam to Scandinavian market. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you very much and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much. You too. Bye-bye.